Try to get some stuff done.
Questions? Down front, Gabe. Hang on just a second. Go ahead, Gabe.
Kevin, how important is it, and how do you get these guys, especially the youth on this roster, to overcome what happened and to move forward and
Well,
not let
I
it
think
snowball?
that's what we do. And yesterday was a day off. Really, today will be our first time, to review video and talk about the positives and the negatives from Sunday evening. And so this afternoon will be the last time that we talk about UCLA from a lot of different facets. There were some things that happened, obviously, that we can learn from, that our players can learn from, and there are some positive, very positive things in the first half. So, the approach is going to be, as I said Sunday night, that there were a lot of things that we can learn from. And the key to that is to not make those same mistakes again, whether that's seeing it on video, practice, meetings, whatever, and to get better from last Sunday. And that's what you do.
Right here, Brian, then Sam.
I guess just the elephant in the room is Tony Busby's comments. I mean, did you read those? What did you, your reaction to that?
You know what? People are frustrated. I'm frustrated about a lot of things. I'm not real happy. I'm sure there's a lot of things being said about this program, and our focus is on us. That never changes. So I'm not in the business of really paying attention to anything outside of this program and or comments, whether good or bad. My focus is on what we can do to be better, and I really don't have time to get involved in what things that are said about the program or about me or whatever. I've just never been that kind of person.
To the left, Sam.
Kevin, as you and the staff have been able to review film and look over the game, take some time away from it, can you pinpoint why you guys were not able to close it out?
Yeah, I think, offensively, we struggled a little bit, but we ran a lot of time off the clock, more time than people would think. Their ability to score, we could change some things defensively in coverage, particularly with particularly the last couple drives, and mix it up a little bit more with what we're doing, and change the man to man a little bit more, particularly with the tight end with Caleb Wilson and how effective they were. But you go back and look at that. Even with those things, the last couple of touchdowns were one went right through our hands, an interception for a touchdown. We had another one where guys ran into each other, and it's a touchdown. It just there's a lot of things we can do better, but defensively, schematically, we can help. But also, we got to make plays in those situations. We had a bunch of balls hit us right in the chest, offensively, competitive plays offensively. When we threw it, we didn't make one competitive play, in my opinion, at receiver position on third downs or second downs. And we did defensively in the first half. In the second half, we did not.
To the left, Cease, and then down front, Brent.
Kevin, where do you go forward at quarterback? What did you see out of Mond and moving forward there?
Yeah, I think, I knew probably before y'all did, obviously, when that happened with Nick in the third quarter. So we had talked to Jake and to Kellen and just said, hey, look, here's a situation. Nick's not going to come back. I think a bunch of y'all saw Jake warming up at that point and both of those guys going. So they were prepared at that point to play. So, those guys will be ready to go this week. And it'll probably be the same situation. Not probably, it's the same situation as it was last week. We've got to prepare both those guys to go because Nick's not going to be available, and we'll announce the starter on Saturday. I think so. I think you got a couple weeks here. It's for our benefit to try to figure out what we're doing with that quarterback position. I see both of them playing here the next couple of weeks.
Go down front, Brent, and to the back, Chip.
Two-parter. Would Jake have been able to play at
Yes.
UCLA?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess why didn't he? In the second part, what do you do at safety without Donovan?
The first part was it was the fourth quarter, and Kellen had been in the game, was in the flow to play. I think you saw Jake warm up on the sideline just in case that was going to happen. You know, it was a different kind of situation with running the clock. I thought Kellen brought some other things to the table. He made first downs with his legs that some other guys probably couldn't make. He made some mistakes freshman mistakes, but we were able to make some first downs and take some time off the clock and felt comfortable with that. Second question was?
In terms of safety with Donovan.
With Donovan out, you've got really a couple different combinations. Keldrick Carper was playing in the game, had a great camp. I think the safety situation also affects the nickel situation because Donovan was able to come down to the box and play, so really looking at moving some corners a little bit. Priest Willis was available. Saturday, I thought our corners, the young corners, played very, very well for young guys. But we had some issues with the deep ball. So, Priest is able to kind of swing around in there and loosen up some of those corners and go to nickel with Keldrick and Armani being able to play free or strong. We've got a combination of guys back there that can help us.
Go to back, Chip, down front, Gabe, and then Ben.
Kevin, you've mentioned before this season about the locker room, and you thought it was a really good locker room. How confident are you in the upper-class guys that need to step forward with leadership and overcoming what happened Sunday and going forward with this team?
Very confident. I think we're going to get some good leadership. We're getting it right now, particularly from our captains, from five. We got one guy who's hurt as a captain in Donovan Wilson. But the other guys are I think they've had a really good chance here to show who they are. And as I said yesterday, it was a day off by NCAA rules. But today will be really the first time as coaches we get together with the players to talk about Sunday and move on to this week. But I know that our captains have reached out to our team, and I think you saw Saturday night a couple guys that are like that and how they responded and how they talked after the game. I know that the inner talk of this team is completely different than probably people think right now.
Down front here, Gabe, and then Ben.
Do you foresee Donovan to be out for the year, and do you think he's eligible? I mean, you foresee him being a part of next year?
I don't know. Be honest with you. You have surgery, on feet, and you start talking about different things. What's important to me is his professional career too, and so we're not going to do anything that's going to risk that. And we've had those type of discussions before with other players. But we'll see where he is. And I'll let you know if he's ready to go. He's ready to go at the end, and we can kind of leave that up to him and the doctors.
And I see Chapman on the depth chart, but I don't know if we saw him. Is he available?
No, he's not.
Go Ben, and then Suzanne
Is Coach Kevin?
to the left.
Back,
Ben.
sorry, I'm back here today. We're just following up on Chapman. Is it disciplinary reasons? Is it injury?
He's not available
He's
right now.
not available. Okay. And then secondly, do you feel like this team has trouble closing out games when you go back and you look at last season and this season?
This is a different team than last season, right? You've got 29 new guys. A third of the team is new. So I'm not comparing this to anything. I'm comparing it to Sunday. And then we're moving on today to this week. So, no, what happened, and we got to fix it.
Go Suzanne.
Kevin, on your quarterbacks, is it a situation where you still aren't sure who's going to start, or are you just going and let them compete during the week, or are you going to just
No.
announce it on Saturday?
Announce it on Saturday.
Okay.
Go to the back, Daryl.
Coach, you talked about positives on Saturday. Can you talk a little bit about your defense, especially in that first half? Terrell Dodson, Jarrett Johnson, those guys seemed to be world beaters when they got started.
Yeah, I thought we mixed it up pretty well early. I think we got kind of vanilla late in the game, but we had some. As I said, I thought Miles Jones and Charles Oliver were good players. They did a good job early. We had to cover some people. Obviously, Jarrett is a really good pass rusher, and I said before the season, he had the same amount of sacks as Day did last year. I think we're going to get that production. I think Michael Clemens coming out of the game injured early hurt us in our rotation. And Quaylen Cunningham getting nicked up a little bit. I think that edge pressure. When people talk about one guy creating the havoc that Jarrett did early in the game, we also had other guys on the other side where they were sliding the protection too. Once Quaylen and Michael Clemens were out of the game, they were able to turn the protection the other way and really max protect. So really kind of limited that. But there were some guys that did some really, really good things, and particularly young guys like Peavy and some of the young defensive tackles inside that rotated. That did a really, really nice job against the run. And that's, I think when you look at the whole picture, everybody's frustrated about what happened Sunday. And nobody's more frustrated than me and probably upset about it than the players. But there are some things out of that we can learn from and get better from, and that's what today is about. That's what practice is about, and that's what we got 11 more games that are guaranteed. And I think the key is to not let this situation create another situation this weekend.
To the right, Brian. To the left, Max.
I think the big question a lot of people are wondering about in the second half, especially with Mond's struggles, completing passes with the receivers struggling to catch it. Why was there not more focus on the run game? And I know that the OC calls the plays, but how much input did you have on that as well?
I think if you go back and look at the video, and if you look at the way we move the ball and change field, we ran it as much as we did in the first half. We weren't as effective because of the 7 and 8 man box. So you load it up. You got to take some shots. You got to be able to throw and make a couple throws and to get first downs. So yeah, I said Sunday night that somebody asked about Noel and play calling. No, that's all of us. That's me too. And we were attempt to shorten the game with the running game. It wasn't as effective in the second half because of a change of defenses, and I think that's what when Kellen, because of that, putting Kellen in a position that he could use his legs to make first downs is what he did out of some read run game. So and staying in bounds and running the clock. And I think looking back at it, would we run 8 minutes off the clock in the fourth quarter, right? Something like that, which was effective, but defensively we didn't hold up.
Okay, down front, Max.
Yeah, Keaton mentioned he really liked Kellen's demeanor on the field when he was put in that tough spot. How did you kind of assess that tape afterward, and sort of what's the next step for Kellen this week?
He just got to grow, and keep growing as a young guy. And, it's part of the process, not just him, but a lot of these young guys are on the field playing, these receivers, and now that they've seen it, you've got to keep encouraging guys and play to their strengths. And as a coaching staff, you and really in first games with young players, what you have to do is all right, here's who this guy really is. We want him to be here. All right, how can we help him get there? But right now, if he's playing, we got to help him with our play design, our play call to play to his strength. And I think with him, not just him, but our receivers, that's where we are right now. Not I know that's where we are right now, and that's been our discussion for the last 24 hours.
Go to the left, Sam, and then Daryl in the back.
Kevin, along those lines, how do you not, when you're playing two different guys, not necessarily telegraph what you're doing? Because you mentioned the stacked boxes. They basically dared Kellen to throw.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you combat that when he's in the game or when Jake or...
Well, now you know. So, we're going to get that. We're going to get that the rest of the year. And as coaches, we know that. He knows that. They're going to, with a young guy, they're going to make him be a complete quarterback. And that's just like anything else. We did some things Saturday we talked about as a coaching staff that we're going to have to address the rest of the year because it's on tape. And offensively, defensively, and special teams, that's what it's about. So just like other areas, Sunday night that I don't want to give out everything, but we see it, and it's out there on tape, and you've got to address those things first before moving on. And whether that's a player, whether it's schematics, whether it's there's a lot of different things, and we're aware of that, and that's why we talked about it Sunday.
Go to the back, Daryl Ruffett down front, Zach and Travis, you'll wrap us up.
Coach, can you talk about Nicholls State? And they've got a dual quarterback situation. They won last week at home. Just kind of the situation or the issues that they'll present you Saturday.
Yeah, offensively they're very, very similar to us. They're it's what we call Y off, tight end off the ball, kind of a movement, motion, zone read scheme, RPO. Really, really balanced. They've got a couple good receivers outside that can really go. Quarterback has been really, really effective defensively. Very, very similar to, not similar to UCLA, but really a coverage type of team, and keep it in front of them. Patient on defense. Really made some strides last year defensively. So it'll be. They're coming off a win. They're not going to be intimidated coming in here. We're watching them play Georgia a year ago. They've been all over the place to play. So a lot of guys that have played in big venues and coming off a win, they're going to come in here excited, and we got to be ready to play.
Zach, then Travis.
Coach, down here in front, with the injury to Nick and then now Kellen and Jake possibly playing on Saturday, how much more important is that leadership role from the running backs perspective, both Keith and Travion and even Kendall Bussey?
Yeah, well, you saw what I've been saying, all summer. It's not just those guys; it's a line up front. We got you can include our offensive linemen in that, and I thought for the most part those guys battled and played pretty well. You don't get that kind of production out of your running game without an offensive line that's doing what they need to do to be effective. But certainly our running backs, are the top two I think are as good as there is as a tandem. I thought that Bussey came in there and gave some spark, because that's tough. I mean, you're running like that with those two guys that were tough yards. There's some long runs. There were some, Keith gave us Keith Ford gave us the tough yardage, and that's a rough day. I mean, he was, but to be able to do that week in and week out, we're going to need all those guys to be that effective in our running game, and I think the leadership that you're talking about, you're asking about, it not only comes from those guys, but also comes from our offensive line and the ability for those guys to communicate, which I think they're only going to get better because we got some young guys in there playing. We got some guys playing in some other spots, and as this season goes on, I think that our offensive line is going to get better and better every week.
Down front, Travis, you wrap us up.
Coach, right here. Will Daniel LaCamera and those two defensive ends you mentioned, are they available for Saturday's game?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you.